Well, yesterday we talked about why there were so few women running for council in St. John's. Yesterday there were only 4. Now there are only 3. Jennifer McCreath is dropping out. She was hoping to make history as the first transgendered person to run for office in Newfoundland. She's dropping out because she couldn't get people to sign her nomination papers. She also says she's been almost ignored by the mainstream media, especially by the CBC and especially by me. And Jennifer McCreath joins me in the studio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Thanks for having me on.
Well, first of all, what happened to the people that you had lined up to be part of your nomination process?
Well, there seemed to be a barrage of cancellations at the last minute. I don't know if it was a coincidence or if people really had other issues or other things to do. Kind of left me scrambling a little bit. Then I decided, okay, well, let's put the call out there. Let's be a little bit more public about, okay, I'm struggling here. You hate to have to admit that you've just lost your nominators. But I put it out there last night on social media, looking for nominations. Anyone willing to step up to the plate? All you got to do is be on the voters list for 30 days, live in St. John's, and I was amazed at the responses I got. I'd love to do it, Jennifer, but I'm not on the voting list. I can't imagine. I couldn't have imagined how many of my colleagues that I would like to have thought were politically savvy weren't actually on the voters list.
Well, why do you think you lost so many of your nominators? Why do you think you lost them? You must have a theory.
I mean, there's always going to be questions in the back of your mind when people privately say they support you but don't seem willing to come out and do so publicly. I have several theories. I think there's some genuine fear, sadly, of people being publicly seen supporting me as a transgender person. There's still a lot of stigma out there in society about this, and people are worried about what their friends and their neighbors are going to think. I mean, going to City Hall is a pretty big deal, and being seen publicly signing papers.
Well, you know, in this city of ours, 150,000 people, whatever it is, I find it hard to believe you couldn't find 2 people to sign your nomination papers.
I agree. It's a very strong piece of humble pie, I guess, in some ways. I have to swallow that. It's humiliating, and it's very disappointing after all the hard work I've done.
You said in your press release, I'm just looking at it now, the mainstream media didn't take you seriously. Why do you think that is?
I put out a lot of press releases announcing my candidacy back during Pride Week, where I'm very proud that we saw a transgender flag raised at City Hall. There seemed to be a complete lack of interest, though, in the fact that I had made this announcement. Only one small interview, and St. John's Pride themselves did not take any action to celebrate this or look as an opportunity to say, look how far we've come. I was there, but they didn't even ask me to get up on the microphone.
Do you think it might be, though, that you need to have a critical mass to achieve as a candidate before you're known as something other than a fringe candidate?
And I think that's been a huge battle and struggle for me. I publicly stepped down from Pride after founding the nonprofit corporation there a couple of years back, and said I want to set a goal of being seen as more than just trans. And it's such a tough label to look beyond that I've stuck my nose out. I've reached out to animal rights communities. I've gone to a variety of protest events and marches, and it just seems that no matter what happens, I'm still the trans person.
Yeah, but I wonder, is that a part of by your own design? I mean, a lot of people I speak with say that you trace a lot of the slings and arrows that you face back to your transgendered status, when in fact this might be about Jennifer McCreath, human being, and not Jennifer McCreath, transgendered person. But could it be that you, and with all due respect, could it be that you just rub people the wrong way?
I think that's a very fair question to ask, and I think the answer is yes, absolutely, that plays a role in there. I think part of the challenge for me and all trans people, I mean, you go on social media and follow any trans person, you're going to see a lot of them in an angry mood because they've faced so much oppression, they're not taken seriously. It seems we're always having to put our foot down, stand up for our rights, and argue, and because of that, I may appear to be more angry and nasty than perhaps I really am.
You were critical of me to the point of posting a video about me on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I may have underestimated the reach of YouTube because I'm surprised at the number of people that have mentioned to me. But and you know, I guess in a stretch I found it a little mean-spirited, but I'm a big boy, I can take it. But you know, I said there were 3 females in St. John's when in fact there were 4 running. I never mentioned any names. But you automatically thought it was you that I was overlooking. And I'm wondering, you know, I could have been overlooking Sheila O'Leary, but she never went off the deep end about it the way you did. Why do you take so much of this on personally?
Well, I admit that was a harsh way to present the situation, but at the same time, you're right, it did create some attention, and sadly, sometimes when you're an underdog, you have to push some of those buttons and ruffle some feathers in order to bring attention to your issues and your cause. And quite frankly, I feel badly that I felt that was the right thing to do. I will personally apologize to you.
Oh, I'm not looking for an apology.
Yeah.
I'm wondering as to why you took it why you took it on personally. When I wasn't being genderphobic, I was being arithmetical phobic or something. My math was bad. It had nothing to do with being, but you took it on as being, aha, there's somebody else discriminating against transgendered candidates.
Well, I asked some of my friends what they thought about this, and I said, do you think this could be a possibility, and do you think I should raise that as a question? And the folks I spoke to said, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do that.
Yeah, within the community, the gay and lesbian community, there seems to be a rift about your presence as well. And first of all, let me ask you, do you agree with that? I don't want to say something that's not true, but do you agree with that?
There's definitely been a rocky relationship between not necessarily just myself and the gay lesbian community, but all the trans women in the gay lesbian community. I've actually noticed, in my opinion, there seems to be a lot more acceptance for trans men by the gay lesbian community than the trans women community. And that's not just isolated to St. John's, that's all around the world.
Yeah. Jennifer, I want to ask you about your voice, because a lot of people mention it to me, and I hope I'm not offending you, but do people ask you about the man's voice that you still have despite your transgendered nature?
Yeah, it's something that actually, initially when I became Jennifer, two things came up specifically. One, you should do something about your hair because I had some baldness, and two, you might want to do something about your voice. So I took those into consideration, and I realized, you know what, my voice is the way it has been for so long, and if I were to change it now, it just wouldn't be me.
Yeah, but your body was that way as well, and you decided to change that.
Yeah, well, part of the transgender process is changing hormones, and when you take out the testosterone and replace it with estrogen, you're going to see some major changes. For the most part, we're dealing with promotion of fat cells, and interestingly enough, I've gained 100 pounds, even though I've carried on with my running regime, but I've got softer skin because of that. Unfortunately, two things that will not change with hormones are hair loss and voice.
But you can change the voice. I mean, lots of people who get that, who go from male to female, who change their voice.
Yeah, there's ways you can try to retrain your voice. I actually have tried, and I've come up with different type of feminine-sounding voices, but none which I felt were genuine. I sounded a little bit too much like Mickey Mouse.
Jennifer, you're concerned, in your press release, you're concerned about the Rich Old Boys Club. You would have been critical of me if I had said that, because that discounts the presence of people like Sheila O'Leary who are running. But anyway, you're concerned about the Rich Old Boys Club at City Hall. You said you plan to promote and campaign for other candidates who you feel can break down the barrier. Who are you going to support?
Well, I don't want to give anyone the kiss of death right now, but I will now that I'm not going to run, it gives me the opportunity to look at all the other candidates. I'm going to go to everyone that has a website. First of all, social media and web presence is very important to the younger folks. Get a website if you don't already have one. I will read them all, and I will map what you have to stand for with what I feel is best for this city, and I'd be quite happy to lend support to the folks whose ideologies tend to be in congruence and agreement with mine.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming in today, Jennifer. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's Jennifer McCreath dropping out of the race for the St. John City Council.